Obviously, these are two guys that definitely leave people with an impression. They have huge reputations and personas.
Absolutely. You know, when I sit there and think, I go back to Coach Stovall, and what was so enlightening and so endearing. I'm only 21, 22 years old back then, a young trooper just starting off, and to go into the homes and visit with Coach Stovall, he was so charismatic. I mean, people just loved him. I mean, when he would leave a house, not only would that kid want to go to LSU, the parents would want to go to LSU. I mean, it was just great. And then that's when I first started going to some of the games on Friday night when we get to an away game. You know, it was interesting. We went playing Florida one time. We actually went to a high school game, and what was interesting is to get in, the game had already started. They had to take locks off the fence and the gate to actually let us in, and then they locked it behind us. And I was there with Bill Spencer, who has since passed on, and Coach Stovall turns to Bill and said, "Bill, can you open that gate if we need to get out of here?" Bill was a big old trooper, and he goes, "Absolutely, Coach, I can get through it." But I've compared coaches over the years through Coach Stovall, and what I saw, and I'm still very close to Nick Saban. I know that doesn't make a lot of people happy, but we were very close. We spent 5 years together. We spent all of those Christmases together as families. So I really got to know him as a person. I got to know his wife, Terry, and I got to know the kids. So very endeared to him. He came back during the oil spill, and he wanted to go down along the coast as Coach Miles did, and they went out with myself and Robert Boehm, head of Wildlife and Fisheries. But what I so much liked about Nick Saban is the fact that as a parent of 4 kids, it was important to him that those kids excelled in the classroom before they excelled on the field. You look back on past coaches, and we can talk about all of them. There's stories galore. But one thing you saw, and it started with DiNardo, who really started making the classroom important, but you saw Nick. It didn't take him long to make up his mind. It didn't take him long for discipline. Many times the public didn't know about it, or we as a public would be thinking, well, he's not doing anything. He'd already done something. You know, if my child or my kid is good enough to play football, I want him playing for Nick Saban. I want him playing for Les Miles, because I know that they'll get everything out of him. You know, interesting thing about Nick, and I compare the two for something I think that everybody would like to hear, and that's winning the national championship. Spending that whole year with Nick Saban was a lot of ups and downs. I mean, it was an interesting year, a lot of crazy ball games. Not as much as Les Miles, but some really crazy games. But then the whole part of walking in the Superdome with Nick Saban, the fireworks were going off. You could just feel it was magical. And I turned, I looked at Nick. I said, "Nick, this doesn't happen too many times. I said, it's going to be a special night." I said, "I feel we're going to win." He hit me and said, "Mike, I feel it too." That's not a Nick Saban most people would realize. I mean, he said right then he felt it. You know, and while we were warming up and stuff during that week, you know, Oklahoma wasn't big on LSU and everything, and but they were taunting the players all the time. We were always practicing after them, so Oklahoma would be on the field first. We got to the game, got to the Superdome early, and they were still on the field. Now, they were supposed to have been off, but the coach had gone for an interview, and the players were out on the field, and here's LSU coming inside, and you saw the Oklahoma players taunting LSU, throwing the football close to them. And, I mean, LSU was getting kind of fired up. You saw Nick say, "Guys, going back to the locker room." And I said, "Coach, what you want to do?" I said, we'll get security. We'll get them off the field." He goes, "No, Mike, this needs to happen." He said, "Come on, let's go sit there." We went and sat on a bench on the sidelines. And during that whole time, I mean, they were acting silly on the field. They were acting like they were working out, and they were taunting Coach. And I looked over and saw the players all sticking their head, and they were watching all this. And they saw the belittlement, I guess. They were belittling LSU. And Nick turns to me and says, "Perfect timing." And, you know, they got off the field, and Nick got them all together, and he went over that whole time period with them. Told them what happened. Told them, "This is what they think of y'all." I saw the whole thing change, because that week we weren't practicing that well. It didn't seem upbeat to me. That practice from that point forward was incredible. What's interesting after the ball game, here we won the national championship. That's big. First time since 1958. It's about 2:20 in the morning. And I turned to Nick. I said, "Nick, let's go out on Bourbon Street. take that crystal ball. Let's go out on Bourbon Street. That's huge. People want to see you. He goes, yeah, that'd be fun, Mike. And we turned around, we started walking towards the lobby, and you could hear, I mean, it was thousands of people at the Marriott, the lobby, and everything was just packed with people and everything. And he said, Mike, turned around and said, Mike, that's too many people. He said, I don't want to do it. Come on, let's go back. So I walked him back to the room, and he was looking at his phone. He was going to start calling recruits back. And I said, Coach, you just won the national championship. Congratulations. This is huge. And he goes, yeah, but I'm thinking about next year's game. He said, man, I'm only as good as the last game. That's over now. I need to move forward. I need to call these recruits back. I just kind of shook my head, and I left him, and I went down and all the wrongs of the people. Now let's fast forward that to Coach Miles. Now here I'm walking into the Superdome. I've got goosebumps because I'm feeling it. We had a great practice that week. The players were fired up. You know, I wasn't superintendent at the time, and he knew I was up for superintendent. And as we're walking out through there, he goes, Mike, have you heard anything on whether you got the position or not? I said, no, Coach. He goes, man, I was just thinking about that. And as we're walking out here, I'm looking at you, wondering if you had gotten the position yet. I'm saying, Coach, let's just win this game. He goes, we got this game, Mike. We got this game. Just you could just feel that in them. And of course, outstanding ball game. Coach was so fired up. Fast forward to the end of the ball game. We go back after all the interviews. We go back to the hotel. I didn't even have to bring up Bourbon Street. Somebody mentioned it running by, and Les goes, Mike, can we do that? I said, absolutely, Coach. And I told him the story about Saban. He just chuckled. He laughed. He said, we're going to do it. We take that crystal ball, and we go out on Bourbon Street. We go up on the Royal Sonesta. He is leaning over the balcony of the Royal Sonesta, waving the crystal ball. This is the original one. I mean, I've got the football staff behind him, you know, Bonnet. I mean, all the people going, oh, my God, Coach, don't drop that. Wasn't a whole lot of pictures being taken, but there's just two different personalities, both driven to win, both they want to work all the time. The other thing is riding in the car with him. I mean, what I found out about Saban, we were close. He always wanted to know about the family and stuff and talking to him. And he's always on the phone. I like the way he talked to parents before he talked to the kids. I went into the homes with Nick Saban. I went to the homes with Les Miles. But Saban real serious all the time. Here I am taking Les Miles. We're actually going down to home at Thibodeau for a Tiger Athletic Foundation event, the Tiger Tour. And we see this place called Bubba's. And Coach Miles goes, Mike, what's that right there? I said, well, Coach, that's a Cajun restaurant, dance hall. You know, they serve music. They have Cajun food, and they dance and Cajun music. And he goes, oh, my God, I want to go there. And I go, all right, Coach, this was a Thursday night. Now, if you go to drive to Homer, you can either be on one side of the bayou or another. You can be on a curvy highway. You can be on LA1. And this Saturday night, it was about 7 o'clock. My phone rings. I look down, and it's Les Miles. I go, wow. He's calling me on Saturday night at 8 o'clock. And I hear him. He goes, Mike. I go, Coach, what's the matter? What's the matter? He goes, am I on the right side of the bayou? Am I on LA1? I said, I'm trying to figure out where I'm supposed to go. I said, Coach, what are you doing? He said, I'm going to that place you told me about. I came home and told Kathy about it, and we're going to see it. And they went there. I mean, that's the kind of person. I mean, as we would drive down the road, Les Miles would want to know, what's that right there, Mike? What do they do there? Oh, my God. And, you know, it's just so endearing to Coach Miles because his dad was a police officer. You know, so he grew up. He was always amazed looking at my buttons and stuff like that because he remembered his dad cleaning his buttons, cleaning his shoes, making sure his uniform was just perfect. You know, the first time I met both coaches, Coach Saban was actually interviewing coaches. And when I first walked in, Yael says, hey, Coach Saban, this is going to be your head of security. This is your state trooper that's been with the Tigers for a long time now. And he goes, yeah. And he walked back in his office. So I said, wow. And, yeah, he's serious. He's like that. And I waited about half an hour, and he came back through and shook his hand. And but that was it. Just very small talk. If you remember, he even said in the meeting he wasn't crazy about having security. He never had it before. Then he wins that big game in Tiger Stadium. And me and ESPN, the one that has since passed on, we carried him off the field. And that night he looked at me and said, Mike, I never not want to be with you. He said, that was unbelievable. He said, it was just the magic of Tiger Stadium. And he saw that, heck, he could have been, he won a game and could have been just trampled on. So just spending that time with him and doing that. Fast forward to Les Miles. He, if you remember, he's interviewing his coaches, and I think one of the coordinators had turned it down. So he's in the process. There's two major coaches sitting outside the office waiting to be interviewed. They'd flown in, they were getting ready to fly out. I come in, coach, you see how he's kind of hurried and he's busy, he's writing stuff down. The guy goes, hey coach, this is Mike Edmonson, your state trooper. He's going to be with you. He's been with the Tigers since 1982, 20-something years, and they just want to stop by and say hello. And he goes, wow, Mike, shook my hand, gave me a hug, and said, come on in, we're going to sit down and talk. We went in his office, and for 45 minutes, he wanted to know everything about me, everything about state police, everything about Louisiana. I said, coach, you got two coaches out there. He said, Mike, they need a job. They'll wait. They'll wait. They'll be, he said, you watch. They're going to be out there when we get finished. I want to talk to you. We talked about his father. We talked about coaching and stuff like that, and he was just amazed he was going to have a state trooper. He dealt with them before, but he was going to have one that was going to be assigned to him and what was going to go on and stuff like that. So just the personalities of the two, and watch how they're driven. Miles is very family oriented. He early on, because we had so many practices and we were always so busy, he invited them to bring their family out to practice, let their kids come out there so they could see what's going on, so their wives could actually see what they're doing and what's going on. And I think that's what just really endeared those coaches to want to be there.